If I just did a still image of Anthem, would that be
I
comparable?
think you're fine. We're running the show.
One way or another, I have to have Anthem
Fine. Fine.
in the background.
Still
Jesus.
image will be
So, excuse,
Anthem.
huh? What'd
still
you say?
image.
Still image. Still image.
Yeah.
Just throw up the one of Dr. Anthem and his merry band of thieves.
I'm sorry, what? That looks so much worse.
And welcome back to the Sidescape Gaming Podcast, episode 152. I'm your host, Jake Burke, and I'm joined, as always, by James St. Charles and Ted Libby. Today, we've been given a mission. We're going to solve games as a service, okay?
We're gonna fix it.
We're going to fix it. We're going to fix this thing that plagues the game industry that we love, that is fucking up Naughty Dog's studios, and they can't even release a goddamn games as a service. And that
That's
really
true.
pisses me off. But we're going to solve it. James, are you ready to solve it?
Yeah, I'm ready.
Ted?
I think I'm ready.
Okay. Where do we start?
I think we start with where games as a service is at.
Yeah,
Okay.
what is a games as a service?
Yeah,
What's a
exactly.
GOS, James? Give me what a GOS is.
It's no-
A GOS.
I think it'd be a
Games gas.
GOS,
yeah,
a
gas.
GOS. A GOS?
No, games as a
gas.
service.
Oh, yeah, it is an A.
GAAS.
GAAS, yeah.
Gas. Also, it's a gallium arsenide. Anyways, games
We're not
as a
chemists.
service is sort of like where a lot of companies want to be at, because it's trying to make your game, your product, but also have it give longevity to your company by having people continuously pay for your game, which that can be like a subscription model, it can be a content model, but typically it's like you buy the game and you pay to keep playing the game. That's typically what the games as a service is, and it has varying models, as OG as World of Warcraft with paying $15 a month, or Final Fantasy 14, which still has that, but also you pay for expansions. Same thing with WoW. That's very common in MMOs. But now you see it with these sort of arena battlers.
Fortnite, Call of Duty Warzone.
Fortnite, yeah.
That's
Fortnite, Call of
jazz.
Duty, any type of expansion comes out. Skins, weapon skins. Mobile games has taken games of service to like the worst level possible. Ted and I are deep into one right now. Warcraft Rumble.
We're rumbling.
It's
Ridiculous.
great because we haven't. I don't think we spent like any money on it, and I'm having a blast.
Hey,
Um,
there you go.
But
Mhm.
definitely, I see complaints of people like what they call whaling, which is where you like pay a lot of money, and it's very common in gacha games, which is basically a games as a service. And it's sort of a really scary direction because it's creeping into single player environments. We saw it a little bit, I think, for God, I can't remember which game, but it had it so you could like buy stuff in game to like level up faster.
Oh,
was that
Assassin's
like
Creed.
a Ubisoft?
Assassin's Creed. Yeah.
Yeah, I
Odyssey
I think
and
all
Valhalla.
Ubisoft games.
Yeah, but nobody plays the other ones, so it's like
Right.
they
So
didn't.
that-
They didn't
that-
have it in Watch Dogs Legion's 10. They did not have that in Watch Dogs Legions because I played that game.
Uh,
Unfortunately.
I was gonna say they never have it on launch. It always comes out, I think, 2 months
Okay,
afterwards.
that makes sense. Yeah. Okay. Sorry,
Yeah.
James.
And yeah, no, yeah, you're good. And so that's getting into the microtransaction territory, where Grand Theft Auto is huge in, like
Mhm.
$1 billion revenue. Like it's crazy how much people buy shark cards and buy stuff for like this in game that it doesn't really matter. But hey, you get to drive a new fancy car. Roblox is really big with that, where you can buy the Robux or whatever. We talked about Fortnite, the
Yeah, yeah.
V-Bucks, all that. So you have in-game currencies to buy these products in your game. And then you have companies that are really blatant with it, and they come out with a game right away, and you know it's a games as a service, and it's dead on arrival. They put in all this work, and no one wants to play your game as a service, and it's over.
Yeah, Suicide Squad
So-
Kill the Justice League is like a game that was gonna be that, and then they pulled it because everyone basically said, "We're not gonna play your game if you release it." And
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
they're figuring out what that is.
Right. I think James summed it up, or I'll sum up what James is saying.
Please.
Basically, a games as a service in technical terms, is just a game where they are going to keep providing you with new things in return for more money after the fact.
Yeah.
A more colloquial way of describing that is they've taken away the ceiling, and you can just spend potentially as much as you want on a hip new video game.
On the flip side of that, Ted, too, is also they can release a game with like half or a quarter of the content and just be like, oh, hey, here's our roadmap, and this character is going to come out, or this map's going to come out, or this feature is going to come out. So they get to release a game that's not even fully done.
Right.
And just say like, oh, hey, you guys pay us a little bit more, we'll get this other content that you like out. And it's like, you haven't even released a full game. Like,
Right.
And you want us to pay for a shell to where you add stuff to it.
Right.
Cyberpunk was a great example of that.
Basically, Cyberpunk.
Well,
Which is
Redfall was like designed that way. Like Redfall was designed to be a game that was like partly there and then expanded upon, and then like they just
I can't believe that.
Yeah. Right, but I guess there is a distinction. Assassin's Creed and Cyberpunk are not considered games as a service.
Right.
Devs aren't selling you as like, you won't need another game ever again.
Right.
That is very much a selling point of a games as a service. It's like, you can keep coming back to this week after week, month after month, and we will continue to give you stuff to do.
But Assassin's Creed has like games as a service elements built into it. Like Ubisoft does it, where like they have new missions like every week that like populate your world, or like targets that you can go hunt. So like they even built like games as a service into their single player games that they want to kind of live forever. And that's the rumor what the next Assassin's Creed is like a single player games as a service.
Yes.
Where it's like going to be one Assassin's Creed game to rule them all. Yeah. I found that weird.
Yeah, I was listening to a podcast this week that described it super well, of like kind of where we're at with games as a service. Where now, because, you know, there is this potential gold mine in every future video game of somebody might come here and spend thousands of dollars as opposed to their one $70 purchase. Everyone's inclined to do this. And I heard it summed up so well as like, it kind of turns your video game into work. Because you are incentivized to keep playing, to keep coming back to it day after day. And if you aren't willing to pay, then you need to grind or put some kind of time into it. And so you can either, you know, pay consistently, or you can grind forever.
Right.
And I think a lot of people, to your point about the Justice League or Suicide Squad, Kill the Justice League, that game came out, and in their initial trailers, before it's even out, they're basically telling you like, hey, this is going to be work. You're gonna have to play this a lot to level up each character and do this over and over again. Yeah. And I think that's where I personally am at with it. Of like, I'm just sick of games as work.
Right.
I want to sit down, enjoy the game, put down the controller, and have no qualms about what I'm leaving behind.
So like these games started, obviously like World of Warcraft, like those kind of older MMOs really was like the monthly fee, the game that goes forever. But like games as service games really came in like with not even Fortnite, but like before that, PUBG and all that stuff. And then like Destiny, right? Destiny was like the first like big games as service console game that was everywhere. Is that kind of true?
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure there's plenty of room for debate here, but I recall Destiny, when they pitched Destiny, they pitched it very much as like, we're going after what the MMO people are doing.
Yes.
We are not an MMO. We are not going to make you pay a subscription to keep, you know, your server lights on, but we are going to have we're going to have new stuff coming out pretty consistently. And so you're encouraged to keep playing. And since then, it's really just kind of taken over the multiplayer or online game space.
Right. Yeah. So we're kind of...
How do we fix it?
Because we're getting in the bubble. Games are getting canceled. Sony's announced that they're making a ton of these. Like Sony's investing heavily in games as a service. We know that the Naughty Dog Last of Us game is unreleasable. They don't know what to do with it. They keep trying to figure it out. Bungie fired people. They're ending Destiny 2. Well, it's true. Bungie fired like 80 people recently.
But Destiny 2 or just Bungie in general has just shot themselves in the foot like continuously with the content, with getting rid of old content that you actually paid for. Oh. See, that's the scary part with games as a service is you keep paying and you think you don't really own anything, and it can be gone in an instant. Like
Bruce Willis skin.
You're right. On a more technical term, in a more technical way, a games as a service means, well, and this is what game companies have been trying to tell us for years, you don't own what you bought on that disc, right? if they turn off the lights on Ubisoft and Assassin's Creed goes away forever, that's fine. You are not justified to getting Assassin's Creed 1 because you own the Xbox 360 disc. And so Games as a Service is really pushing that forward. I think Fortnite did this too with the kind of forever crunch, or like forever update, where like, I mean, technically you can go back and play original Fortnite now, as they're like,
not for very much longer. They're gonna
for a limited time.
Right,
but like,
that's just ridiculous.
In theory, when Fortnite updates again, that old map that you remember playing fondly will just be gone, and that is something you have to accept as a in a live service environment. But yeah, to Jake's point about this being a bubble, when Jake floated this topic to us, you could, and I sent a link to you guys, but I just want to talk about some of the games that have like just absolutely bombed.
Yeah.
Do you guys remember Lawbreakers?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. The multiplayer.
That was his
Unreal.
Cliffy B.
What is he? He was Cliffy B's Gears of War fame.
Gears of War.
Unreal Tournament 3.
Yep.
Comes out with a multiplayer only shooter with some unique zero gravity mechanics, but you're run of the mill characters, things to unlock.
Shooter. Yeah. Yep.
Ends up getting canceled after only a few weeks, with like average player counts never breaking 100.
Well, and I played this game. I was like going to be really into this game, and then they canceled it. Like me and what year was it?
Oh,
you don't know. I think it was like I was in college.
2018?
Oh, 18. I was not in college.
Time flies.
All right, but I was going to get into that game, and it died. Keep going. This is a good list.
Oh yeah. So even more recently, EA's Knockout City. They're like dodgeball.
I love Knockout City.
Yeah.
Kids flavored game. Lasted 4 months.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then they just pulled the plug on it. Said we're done. This is over. Experiment failed. There's a few others that I don't recall. Babylon's Fall.
I remember that. Just
that one like release and like.
I believe that's a Square Enix game.
Yeah. Well, the wrestling one. What was that one called?
That was Knockout City.
That was Knockout City was the dodgeball one.
Knockout City was
Knockout City
dodgeball one. Yeah.
What was the wrestling?
The wrestling one was something that we played. There was a wrestling.
Yeah,
one.
it was made
last year.
That was the one I really liked. Yeah.
Oh, the wrestling game. Come on.
Yeah.
Somebody look up epic wrestling game.
I'll tell you right now.
All right, yeah.
I thought it was like I thought it was Rumble City or something like that.
Something like that. Yeah. But Knockout City was pretty damn close. What was
that? No, sorry. Keep going. I'm looking.
Paragon, which was Epic Games'
Rumbleverse.
That's it. Yeah, Paragon, which was Epic Games' kind of like Dota or MOBA attempt.
Okay.
Wait, Paragon? Did they try to re-release that? Didn't that like shut down? They tried to re-release it and it shut down again.
Yep.
Oh my god.
I believe they tried to open it up to the community of like if you want to, but we're not really actively trying. And even then, it didn't really survive.
Yeah.
No one.
And then some of the big ticket one that I want to talk to Jake about, because I know he played a lot of it, is Marvel's Avengers.
Yeah.
Which
that's to me like that's
still
crazy.
Going right?
No, I believe it's gone. Right,
it's
the game is done.
I believe at this point they at least have announced it is. Okay. It will be done.
There's no more content, and they're going to shut the game down. I think like in this year, next year, like it will be you cannot play Marvel's Avengers. I did play a lot of Avengers, and that game was like. I think the issue, and like we're seeing it even in like streaming with shows now and stuff too, it's so much of it is made by a boardroom, and you have the perfect boardroom games as a service game behind you, which is Anthem. Anthem was literally made in a boardroom where like capitalist people sat down and were like, all right, here's what's in. BioWare's big, multiplayer's big, just put them together and they make cool sci-fi thing. That's their game. Make that game. That's the game.
Make it happen. Make a 4-player looter shooter that people will want to keep playing forever.
It's like Destiny. It's BioWare doing Destiny. Let's do this. Like that's I think the issue with games as a service now is like it's just like throwing paint at a wall, and if it sticks and if it doesn't, we just shoot it in the back.
But I worse than that, because like there are plenty of bad video games that are still on shelves that you can go back to from the PlayStation, PS2. All the eras. Where you can just play and be like, yeah, this is a bad game.
Right.
But Games as a Service is unique in that, like, you can't play Anthem. Anthem is the one game that I checked out because we talked about it on the show. They were, again, going into a boardroom to discuss how to save Anthem. And I thought, I'm going to play Anthem. Wasn't great.
No.
Had some issues. Not a very good game. But then the next week, they come out of that boardroom and say, Anthem's done.
Yeah.
It's over. It's gone.
And like Anthem was so high profile. I mean, it was like headlining E3s and stuff. So it's crazy that it didn't. It lasted maybe a year, not even. Like
I believe it lasted a year.
Yeah,
maybe
probably
13
legally
months.
had to last like a year.
Yeah, I believe it lasted like 13 months.
Yeah.
Did any of you guys play it?
Just I played.
Ish.
I played 2.5 hours just to see what was going on.
Yep.
Wasn't that interesting?
I tried to play the beta and the loading times were so long and like it would boot you that it was just like not even worth it. I remember that.
Wow.
More than anything about Anthem. But it was so bland. Anthem was so bland. Yeah, I don't know. I guess like for me, like looking at where we are, like Multiverses came out this year or like the year before and was then really quickly shut down. And it's like a game that they've promised is going to come back.
Yeah, that's a weird way they did that.
That's crazy to me. I don't believe that's ever true.
In fairness, maybe a topic for another time. Warner Brothers is being super weird right now with all of their properties across the board. They've canceled fully made movies for tax write-offs.
Well, I heard they're selling one of those, but yeah, because like, well, yeah, the Batgirl movie, but like the people got mad and like found out they're canceling these movies for write-offs, and that they're actually like, oh, maybe we'll sell this to someone else.
Yeah,
which is the weirdest thing to make a movie and like have it be shut down. And I think a lot of it now. I heard like some directors were like gonna like blacklist some people that were doing that.
Makes sense.
So, yeah, Nolan doesn't work with Warner Bros. Anymore. Christopher Nolan.
Right.
Point is, Multiverses might be a little bit extra weird, but you're right. That was a game that came out.
You could put money into it.
You could put. Yeah, you could buy stuff from the store. You can always tell a live service game because there will always be a store that operates perfectly.
Little exclamation mark next to it, Ted, telling you should go to the store. It's right here.
There's always a store.
Yeah. So like, I think we're at this like weird bubble where like, I don't know, these games obviously still work because everybody, but we're at a bubble where like, not a lot of them are surviving.
Yeah.
And it's taking away from everything else in the games industry. Like, it breaks my heart to know that Naughty Dog has had resources developing a live service game that is like not good and unreleasable, where it's like you just took the best single player studio and we're like, make a game out of live service.
I mean, that's how it happened to BioWare too.
And BioWare making another game means nothing because it's no longer any of the BioWare people. It's just a name.
Yeah. Oh, totally.
Yeah. because of Anthem.
But at one time, they were saying
they were a name.
The great minds behind all the single player games you love.
Yeah. The people that brought you Mass Effect, Dragon Age. We're going to bring you Anthem.
We're going to shit the bed.
We're going to make Iron Man game. It's going to be cool.
But with an in-game store.
People like Iron Man, make up be Iron Man. It'd be great.
Yeah.
So, James, do you think this is a problem? What do you think the solution is? Is there a solution? And is this just what video games are moving forward? That's the thing. Is this game?
So it is a problem. I don't think that it will be stopped. In fact, I think it'll get worse.
Yeah.
The solution that I've seen has been games releasing without any sort of market or service, which tends to be indie games. And those games tend to just be absolute hits. Recently, there's a $10 game right now that just came out. It's called Lethal Company. That is an indie game, and it is blowing up like everything. It's a 4-player kind of like a... it's a 4-player co-op horror game. I'd say you have to go in. You go with your friends. You go into these procedurally generated worlds, and you go in and collect some parts for your company. And there's monsters, and they're all scary. And they try and kill you. There's stuff that tries to kill you, and people are having a blast with it. $10 game, no microtransactions. Right. The creator is like super happy about it. And that's the story with a lot of games that come out in 2023. It's just some indie game that blows up. It's not really like this AAA game with a bunch of content, which a bunch of money to pay is gonna be an absolute hit. Like Call of Duty just came out and it reviewed horribly, but people are still playing it. So
Call of Duty, baby.
It's not ever gonna just stop. I think World of Warcraft is gonna have a big thing releasing tomorrow. Classic Hardcore is coming out, and a lot of people are gonna be paying for that.
Are they just resetting back to like regular classic again?
Oh yeah. Nostalgia is money.
Well, it's so true.
Yeah, sort of. The WoW Hardcore has already been going on as like an external mod, but it is now an official part of World of Warcraft.
Again, taking someone else, and also when they had like old Wrath of the Lich King, they had private servers that they were trying to shut down, and then eventually they just like made it themselves. So it's like someone else has the idea, and then WoW's like, hey, you know what? Let's make that official.
It's our game. We're gonna take your idea.
Exactly. Yeah. So I do think it's gonna keep getting worse, and I think the cuts from what I've heard, I think recently. So I play a lot of VR chat. VR chat recently introduced a marketplace to help creators, but the cut is awful. It's like the creators get 50% of the money because Steam takes 30% automatically, and they do that for everything. So that's typical for industry.
Valve, yep.
But then the creators of VR chat take a 20%, and then you get half the money that someone would have given to you. Like, so that's another thing with game service. Like, if you're paying, and like, let's say, oh, you're gonna help creators or help someone who designed this skin, like for Counter-Strike, they don't get the full amount of the money. It gets cut.
Well, of course, it's capitalism.
Yeah,
James.
That's capitalism. But yeah, that's not. You're not gonna get the full amount. And so yeah, so if there's any way to save it, I think it's just heavily supporting indie game creators, which I think we do a good job here of doing.
You do for sure. You're my indie game hookup.
Yeah. Like
I learn all my indie games from James, and it works out every time.
I also like how Jake and I all are playing Resident Evil games, and those have like nothing for games of service. Maybe like very little. Yeah. Capcom recently with Yakuza games or like a Dragon games are my favorite. I mean, Capcom is Resident Evil as well, so it's like we're still like just supporting Capcom in general for their types of games.
Like Capcom.
But I definitely
Capcom doesn't make Yakuza. Sega does.
Oh,
Sega. Sorry, not Capcom. Yeah, but Sega for
Sega for
they're all the same over there. Yeah. Nintendo. They're all the same.
No, I think you make a good point.
For
I think voting with your wallet is obviously the best way to go about it.
But it's not going to affect everyone because people are going to like to spend money on things they like.
Right.
That's why mobile games are very, very popular and very lucrative.
It's true. Yep. I think for me, it just makes me worried that, like, is this all video games is going to be eventually? Like, like the movie industry really is fearing, the Marvel movies and the big, like, continuous stories and everything that's coming out of movie theater. Like, eventually, our games just games as a service because that's easiest. That's where your money's at. And so that scares me a little bit. Like,
there's going to be, I think there's going to be a lot of flops, which you've seen.
Yeah.
But there's definitely going to be that one hit that you pay for and that other companies will see and try and milk the ever-living crap out of. So, I mean, like, everyone's trying to be the next Fortnite with a lot of their BRs.
I'll interject really quickly here. PlayStation bought Bungie and announced Marathon, but they announced it to be an extraction shooter. And I believe part of their kerfuffle currently is that extraction shooter as a fad has already faded. Yeah, like we did it, we played it.
It sucked.
I've had fun with it. Like, it's not like I'd be interested in it, but overall, like, I'm not jonesing for it.
Right.
And so for them to base, their entire marketing plan, or their entire development plan off of a fad that has already passed, you have to hit the nail on the head with a live service game. You have to. You cannot miss.
Yes. There's like such a low margin for error to be successful that, like we're saying, like they're just canceling games 4 months into coming out. Like, I couldn't imagine playing Multiverses. I know it may come back, weird thing, but this is my best example. And buying like Batman, the skin for $10, and then 4 months to 8 months later, like, I can't play my Batman thing I just bought. Like, that's crazy to me. Like, that's
I think, but Call of Duty definitely addressed that recently, where the past Warzone, which you never really played too much of.
Yeah.
Now your skins carry over to the new one, but now they just did it.
But yeah, like, imagine like Warzone. Like, I bought a $15 skin, so whatever.
Right.
I used my money's worth in that. I'll find a place. But I think like that's what John McClane would say when you pick it was great. It was great. Anyways, but like, imagine if you put like hundreds of dollars into like buying skins and guns in Warzone.
People did.
People
did, and they lost it all.
That's crazy. That's just bullshit.
Yeah, no. And nothing you can do about it.
I know. It's crazy. I think that's my biggest issue with it all.
The biggest issue for you is just like not having the longevity.
Like the longevity, the control, or like for me, like, games are a product. Right. It's like buying Catan, but every month you have to like buy the new thing of Catan.
It's like buying Settlers of Catan, but you keep losing the pieces.
You keep losing the pieces, and then eventually they'll just take the game from you. They just come back into your home, and they just grab your game board and they leave, and you can't ever play Settlers of Catan again.
It's like how with the games as a service, it's kind of like how software as a service is currently in the industry, where everything is like subscription model.
Yeah, like Adobe Photoshop is crazy.
Yeah,
the Adobe Suite.
But even that's just like Adobe. You pay for your suite. You get all these different types of products. That's for the commercial realm. We're not even talking about like the industrial realm, where some of the licenses are like millions of dollars a year, just to use like basic CAD type software. But you need this CAD type software because no one else makes it. And let's say your company's been using it for 30 or plus years. Now they got you by the balls because you really need to use this only software that they provide, and you have all of your projects on it. And so it'd be imagine a game like that where it's like, okay, you've played this game, and then they're like, all right, if you want to keep all of your data, your saves, or all your skins, well, now you got to pay us $15 a month. Yeah. And they'd be like, oh shit, well, I invested all this time and effort into getting all these skins and equipment, and it's gonna be all go away unless I pay. It's kind of
what it's like.
It's extortion, really.
Yeah. I don't know. Yeah, Ted, what do you think? What do you think about these GOSs?
I think the GOSs are going to get worse. Probably. I think this has a lot to do with with how you mentioned Anthem, of like video games being incepted by a boardroom. And on top of that, I think it has a lot to do with like video games are fucking expensive to make.
Yes.
And they're only getting way worse, and yet
they're all getting longer too.
Yeah, well, and so we, the consumer, bitch about the $60 price tag, the $70 price tag, and in response, we've built a world for ourselves where they need to sell microtransactions to break even.
Right. Yes.
This is something you see now with the sports games, where like the sports games will come out and then immediately go on sale, and you're like, oh my gosh, Madden 24 is 50% off already. What a great deal. That's because they need you to buy those microtransactions. I do think that if you want to systemically fix GOSs, video game developers need to reel it in and make their projections for like the video game they're going to make a lot smaller, and they can't factor in these things of like, well, we need people to keep playing it. Start developing games as a product again. Take it back 10 years where multiplayer, video games that exploded in popularity. Call of Duty 4, for example, was a single player game with a multiplayer attachment. We need to go back to that as opposed to a multiplayer game with a single player attachment.
So interesting enough. So my buddy has a PS4 that doesn't like, the internet's really bad on it. So he doesn't even connect it to his Wi-Fi. Like it doesn't work with his Wi-Fi. So he just bought Modern Warfare 2, the second Modern Warfare 2, Ted, just to not be confused.
You.
Yeah.
Not the old one.
Not the old one from 2010 or whatever.
The one that people review bombed.
Yeah, the one that people accidentally misreviewed. Yeah. So he bought like the newer Modern Warfare 2, and he went to play just the campaign. He was like, I don't want to play the multiplayer. I just want to play the campaign, see what it's like. He has to download the campaign from online. It's not on the disc.
Yeah.
But he doesn't have the internet, so he's like, I gotta figure out, like, let's get us over to your house. I'll plug it in. Like, we'll do this. But he's like, the Wi-Fi doesn't work for him. That's crazy. Because
it's
a multiplayer game. The multiplayer is on the disc. The campaign's separate.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I think developers need to start, if you want to get away from games as a service, which I'm hoping people do, because I'm hoping the Suicide Squad is a huge eye opener to devs across the world of like their initial like, this is the game we're making, already killed the game before it even came out. And that wasn't because, necessarily it just live service as a whole. That's because people didn't like what they saw. And, the Suicide Squad people, who makes it? Arcane?
No, Rocksteady.
Rocksteady's like, we built this for an audience. Like, this cannot survive unless people come to it.
Well, and that game was pretty much started development right around the time like Anthem was being announced and revealed. Like 2015 was kind of when Arkham Knight came out. So like that game was made the same boardroom like way of like, here's what's hot, you gotta make one of these.
Yeah.
And like, it took 7 years to now make one, and they're trying to.
Because it takes 7 years to make a video game.
Right.
Yeah. But yeah, like that I hope is a huge eye opener of just like, we need to make a game that can still come out and that can find its audience later. because I'm hoping, I should say, that the bottom lines of a lot of these larger companies are starting to feel it when their video game is dead on arrival. I'm hoping Warner Brothers now knows not to do that because Multiverse is quote dead on arrival because they didn't get enough microtransaction money from their beta.
Yeah, which is wild.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, Warner Brothers just kind of banked on that whole system with Gotham Knights, Suicide Squad, and then Multiverses.
Yeah, and so far they're 0 for 3.
Yeah,
they failed every time.
Well, they haven't released Suicide Squad. This could be the comeback game of the century.
I know. The current rumor is that the in development Wonder Woman game by Monolith still is. Apparently, they're still hiring for live service.
It's supposed to be very similar to Gotham Knights.
Yeah,
which breaks my heart.
Yeah,
because it's the studio that made fucking Shadow of Mordor, and they could have made a dope ass Wonder Woman game.
Yeah,
or they could have continued Shadow of Mordor.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't think the second one had live service stuff in it too. Shadow of War had build your own army with microtransactions and like go and fight different armies.
Yes, yeah. I know Shadow of War. I don't think anybody. This wasn't a big deal because not a lot of people got here. But if you actually wanted to beat that game and like fully play it, 80-hour game, and so like from hours 60 to 80 to get to a point that's like impossibly hard. And there are microtransactions to kind of speed up that process in a single player game.
Yeah.
Like that is not okay.
It's so terrible.
Bit of a side tangent.
No, but these are all seeping in now to single player games. Like, that's the scary part to me. And like Sony for me was kind of that like safe haven of like, they make the single player games. That's what they do. They're making single player story based narrative games. I'm like, cool.
Yeah.
The fact that they've announced like, no, we want to get into the games as service market too. It's like, oh, this is the industry as a whole, not just the third party console, non-console developers.
I would say that Sony might be like a light at the end of the tunnel of like, especially as game development time gets longer and longer, they might be like, okay, we can't predict what's going to be cool 7 years from now. So we just shouldn't make a game that we think will hit or that needs to hit when it does come out. That being said, Sony is desperate for some online multiplayer action.
They really are.
And we'll see how that pans out. Yeah. But I do have some other solutions that I want to... One of them I wanted to bounce off you guys. How would you feel if Anthem 2 was announced, but kind of in the same vein as Fortnite, EA or the developer basically says, like, this is going to be a live service game. It's going to run from release day until 3 years from now. And then after that, we're going to turn it off. And you're going to play this sweet, sick multiplayer live game that's constantly changing, constantly having updates, and for the sake of argument, not too terrible on your wallet. But it's going to run its course, it's going to play out, and then it's going to be over. How do you feel about that?
I think the Anthem name is completely ruined.
Okay, maybe not Anthem.
But the idea of that concept. Anthem. So the idea of like a game being like, it's going to run from 2024 to 2028.
They already do that though. Yeah. They're like, hey, we're going to support this game for this amount of time.
But I don't mean like as in a support. I mean like we have built, this MMO world. It's going to last for 2 years. We have 2 years worth of cool things to do for it. And then after that, we are done. We wring our hands free of it. How do you feel about that?
I'm kind of into that.
That's fine. Yeah.
I'm kind of into that because
knowing from day one that like this is not going to last forever. This is not a product. Enjoy it while it's here.
So some great studio could do so good with this idea where they have 2 years of a world that they have built of like a thing that's going to happen over the course of 2 years, but it would really just be like a fucking EA hash that would just be thrown out at you for 2 years. But how cool would that be? Like you live on a world for 2 years and the world like ends like from the story. That'd be super cool.
Or like 6 months in, like a genuine like story thing happens. And if you weren't playing before 6 months, you have no idea what's going on. It's kind of like jumping onto a TV show at season 2.
Yeah, where you can't go back.
Yeah. Anyway, that was an idea I was thinking about.
Yeah.
I think I would be into that. The last thing the solution to games as a service is kind of to take it to a lot of these developers when they miss. Mm-hmm. We had already mentioned vote with your wallet. We've been saying that for decades at this point. RIP Total Biscuit. But like abandonware is the term that we have thrown to video games that no longer have a home, or they're not being actively developed. You know, the developers moved on, or they've been bought, or the license has gone to some holding company. They're not making video games. And so people will then post it as abandonware saying, hey, you can play this video game because nobody who actually owns it is keeping the lights on.
Yeah.
And so far that's been pretty successful in the court of law. You know, if you can't argue that like we're actively participating and supporting this video game, it should go to the people who care about it.
Right.
And that, I think, is how a lot of this stuff should be treated. Of like, if somebody wants to reboot Anthem for the people, they should be allowed to. And they should do it. And, you know, EA should try and sue them. And then they should lose in court of like, EA, you don't support Anthem. We're going to let these people run a community server.
You never loved it like us. Yeah.
Yeah. Like, you know, that I think is kind of, you know, really stick it to a lot of these larger companies when they try these antics and they fail.
Yeah, I think you're starting to see that in a little bit of a way. Like Ubisoft is having a lot of problems because they've just recycled the same game over and over, and I think people have started to kind of vote that out a little bit of like, we're done playing Assassin's Creed repetitively. And I think you're seeing that with games as a service. I think the other thing with games as a service is now it's going to be the big companies will be successful at it because they have the resources to fund it, where you won't see like, you will never see like another Epic Fortnite scenario where like, in this genre, like where Fortnite, Epic Games was like not big like they were with Fortnite, and then like they made Fortnite and it just exploded, and Epic Games became like the billion-dollar pillar that they are. Where like they were not this monolith studio.
I mean, they kind of work because they made it Unreal, but I see what you mean of like
in game development and what they're doing in house.
Right, like every child knows what Epic Games.
They were the CAD software developer James was talking about, you know.
Yeah,
and they also made Gears of War. Like they exploded and became something entirely new, and I don't think you'll see another grasp to that kind of plateau with this. So I don't know. I hope it doesn't stay this way. I hope we burst this bubble quick because I'm done with it.
I think it's going to get worse in the popular video game space. In the more money you throw at it, I think the more you're going to see this, because big companies are putting big money into it, and they want big money back.
Yep. Either
by whales or by a grind, or simply by like, I've put 2 years into Call of Duty. You know, I put in too much to pull out. You know, I have to keep playing this game because I've invested in it.
Yeah.
Invested. So I think you are going to see it from the worst offenders. The same people who are going to advertise their game on national TV are the ones going to be propagating this shit.
Yep.
I think the best thing to do, like you said, is vote for your wallet and play video games that don't have live service aspects to them.
Yeah.
And when you see it, call them out on it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I agree.
I was before we end, I just want to, does it break your heart when you're watching football and then like the Call of Duty ad plays and then you're like with your family, you're like, oh, this is what they think all games are like. This is like what they think I'm just doing.
I see. You know what I do like? I like how they have the creators and you see like Nate Shot. You see like, oh, I know that guy, but like no one else has no idea who these
old
my
parents are like, what the
are.
fuck is happening on this TV?
Yeah, why does this Nate Huskers guy saying this is the greatest game of all time? Like
what is this?
No one knows these pros.
Just breaks my heart a little bit.
Anyways,
I was like, look over to my dad, and I'm like, he thinks.
Well,
that's
Eminem
what
plays,
and
it's like, yeah, Eminem.
Oh, I know, yeah. That song popular when the first Modern Warfare 3 released.
Till I collapse. Yep.
Savage.
It's crazy. It's just crazy, man. I did explain that to my friend who has no idea about video games that they've now made Modern Warfare twice. Yeah, it's pretty great.
It's a tough sell.
Tough sell. I don't Call of Duty not a tough sell for people. Any final thoughts on this topic before we say goodbye? Ted,
I think there's so much more we could hit on with this topic, and it's something that we'll probably talk about again
forever.
when another game comes out that it just breaks the economy. But
I don't know. We've been talking a lot about line games as a live service, and we've shit on them, rightfully so. But do you guys have any counterpoints of games as a service you've actually really enjoyed over the past, I don't know, post-pandemic years?
So like
Rumbleverse.
Yeah.
But we never
it's
money to it.
It's one of those things where it's like an interesting idea that I'll play for 5 minutes. Mm-hmm. That was what that game was to me. It was like we played like a few times. I was like, oh, this is interesting. I would say Warzone I loved, but I didn't love it for the like live service nature of it. I loved it for like the playing Halo with my friends multiplayer. Like if we had another multiplayer game that was just like that, we would have been playing that. It wasn't because this game was perpetually moving forward. I actually hated it when it would change. Yeah. And like
Yes.
that was the thing that
Yeah,
we would
because
constantly
would
struggle
always
with.
like, hey, can we play this week? No, we can't. 'cause
Nope,
it's
we can't
two
do
people.
quads. It's just 2 people.
Yeah.
The game will not
Yeah.
let us do quads here. So
That was the dumbest thing.
so stupid. Like for me, that was the frustrating part of like you're actually limiting how I can play this game because of the live service nature.
Yeah.
So
Yes.
I've appreciated Fortnite from afar for what it's been
Mm-hmm.
for this metaverse gaming universe that it is, and it's just crazy to think about the amount of IP that they've managed to put in one game is like kind of surreal, and like
Yeah.
very Ready Player One of like whatever skin you want, I can be Luke Skywalker. That's pretty fucking cool, you know.
Sure.
So
In a legal way.
In a legal way,
like
yeah.
Other games can do it, but this is a legal way.
yeah, and it's like an accessible way. Like yeah,
Accessible, yeah.
yeah. I think like yeah, you can always do something illegally on video games. But it's-
Yeah, I was like,
Yeah,
accessible. I
Roblox,
don't know.
yeah.
yeah.
Fortnite's the king of showing you a cool skin and then being like, you actually can't.
Yeah,
get
you
that.
can't ever use that again. It's already gone.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's why anytime the Star Wars one goes up, I'm like, I gotta go over to Fortnite and pay my $10 and just so I
Exactly.
can
For a
have
game
my-
you don't
For a
play.
game I don't play, I'm gonna buy my Luke Skywalker skin so I could do it one time with
Just
James.
like the Star Wars Minecraft. We gotta play that.
We're gonna play that Star Wars Minecraft. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. I don't. That's not what I play video games for. I play video games for a very different reason.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's where I stand.
Yeah.
Okay. Before we go, I just want to tell you guys, I'm playing some Baldur's Gate 3. And when I say I've
Mm-hmm.
been playing some, like a stupid amount of Baldur's Gate 3.
Yeah, it says 32 hours recently. I don't know what recently means, but that's just what it says.
That's just yesterday.
Well,
32 hours.
Yeah, I have played 32 hours in 24 hours. This is impressive. No, I think that's, does this say really 32 hours recently?
Yeah.
Oh God, I gotta cut this so my mom doesn't hear that. Oh well, to be fair, I did go on a lot of flights. I did go to New Zealand recently, so that's probably counted.
Yeah, we don't know what recently means.
Yeah. It could be
Yeah.
months,
Yeah.
10 months.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But dude, it's really good. I did encounter a quest bug that prevented me from completing what I assumed is a pretty crucial quest, and I had
That's good
to finagle this game into. I basically had to kill the quest giver, and then speak to the dead. Use the curse, speak to the dead, so I could talk to his dead corpse, so that then he could tell me the piece of information that he wasn't able to do when he was alive because of the bug.
Wow.
I would say that's almost a benefit that the game lets you do that.
The game's
That
got a
is
lot
amazing.
of
the,
little.
the game's got a lot of workarounds.
As
Yeah.
someone who's played an epic CRPG and then had to end his time with it because of a quest bug, exactly as you described, fuck you, Dragon Age. That's amazing that you got through it using an in-game solution. That's really cool.
Yeah, so it was cool, but it's an incredible game. I can't wait. We're gonna talk a lot about it, I know, but I've just been playing a lot of it. I'm very impressed by it. And J. Ronius Ragsire, he's holding it fucking down, man. Little dwarf paladin just kicking ass, taking names. So recommend it.
Yeah, we're gonna be playing.
We're gonna be playing in about 5 minutes. James is ready. He's done.
He's ready.
He's about to end the show.
Once again, he's done.
He's done.
I know. I bought Baldur's Gate.
Yeah, you played a few hours of it. We're not gonna end,
Yeah.
James. We're not ending yet.
Yeah.
Ted's gonna talk about Baldur's Gate.
No, it's okay. Well, I want to save a lot of my discussion for it for Game of the Year, but
Okay. Cool.
it did not go on sale, which I was a little bummed about.
No,
But
I saw a great Black Friday post that was just like the best game deal of Black Friday is Baldur's Gate for $60 and you won't regret it. And I was like, that's so true.
that's what happened. I waited till Tuesday. It didn't go on sale. I bought it anyway,
Yep.
a little begrudgingly, and I've been having a really good time with it.
Nice.
It's a
Yep.
solid video game.
We'll talk a lot more about it in the coming weeks and eventually in person, which is very cool. Thank you so much for watching the 152nd episode of the Thesideescape Gaming Podcast. My name is Jake. That's James. That's Ted. And we will definitely promise see you next week.